Hey everybody, Rob here at eTrailer.com. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Blue Ox 7-wire to 6-wire coiled cable for towed vehicles. Now this is going to give us a 7-way on one end so we can hook into our motorhome, and a 6-way on the other end so we can hook up to our towed vehicle. This is going to plug in pretty easy. Most common connector on the back of a motorhome would be our 7-way. Just make sure it's plugged in. And we can come over to the 6-way, and it will come with the plug. We'll just plug our cable in. And now we can have all the lights transferred to our Jeep whenever we're flat towing it. So whenever we need to change lanes, we turn on our turn signal in the motorhome, the cable will allow it to get transferred to the taillights on our Jeep so we can all be safe going down the road. And the fact that it has a coiled cable with it is really nice because as you can see, it's going to take that slack up and prevent it from dragging on the ground. But it also gives us enough slack here where it can stretch out up to 7 feet long, so when we make those turns and we really start to stretch our tow bar out, we don't have to worry about it getting too tight. And then whenever we do start to straighten out and we don't need that slack, the cable is going to retract back to this nice little bundle here. And you can see the coating on the outside of the cable is pretty thick. It's going to be resistant to water, most automotive chemicals, and the environment, so we don't have to worry about the cable breaking down. And on the inside, there's actually silicone that's encasing the wires inside, so it's going to help protect those as well. Our kit is going to come with the coiled cable as well as the 6-way to mount on the front of our Jeep. Just keep in mind you may need a bracket if your base plate doesn't have a spot for it, and the diodes or whatever kind of electrical connection you're going to be using. Now wiring up the plug is actually really simple. There are labels on the back, but we'll make sure you understand and you feel comfortable wiring it up, so let's go and bring it in the shop and do it together. To begin our installation, we want to wire up our plug. Now we already have our 4-pole wiring up at the front of our Jeep, and we have a bracket in place. I just want to mention our wiring kit's not going to come with a bracket, but you can pick it up here at eTrailer.com. I'm going to start by taking the boot off the back of our connector. We'll expose all the terminals, and we want to make sure we slide this over the wiring, and for now I'm just going to push it behind the bracket so it's out of the way. I'll set the plug down for now, and we need to split the wires if you haven't already so that we can get access to each individual one. So I'm just going to take a pair of cutters. I'm going to cut right in between the wires, being careful not to damage the ends of them. You just need a little bit. Cut down the middle. We can grab the end of them, separate the wires. We want to make sure we strip back the end of it. Now if we look at the back of our socket here, we're going to see all the terminals. Now they are labeled, but they're kind of hard to see, so I'm just going to go through them for you. If we start at the very top, that's going to be labeled TM for trailer marker. That's going to be the brown wire. If we move counterclockwise, this larger one, it's going to be labeled GD for ground. It's going to be the white wire. This one right here, it's going to be labeled L or LT for left turn. This one right here is going to be labeled R for right turn. This one right here is going to be labeled S. That's going to be your electric brake signal. And then in the center, this is going to be the auxiliary, which is going to be your 12-volt power source if you're using one. So you want to grab a small Phillips screwdriver. We're going to loosen up the terminal. Now, I never like to really take the screws all the way out because they're really small and really easy to lose. So I just open them up to make sure I can get the wire inside, but leave them on the terminal. And we'll just take the appropriate wire and give it a quick twist so we get all the strands in there. And we'll put in the terminal. And I like to leave just a bit of copper at the very top. Not enough to cause any kind of connection issues or crossing over, but just to make sure that insulation isn't going to cause any kind of issues inside the terminal. We'll tighten it up, and then we're just going to go through connecting the rest of our wires to the correct terminals. So once you have all your wires hooked up, this is what it should look like. Now I always like to put some dielectric grease in this cavity here, make sure it's nice and filled up. And that's just going to help prevent any kind of moisture from getting in there and having corrosion build up. Just put a good amount, make sure that it's all covered. Then we can grab the boot, slide it back over the end. I'm just going to take some electrical tape. I'm going to wrap as far up the wire as I can go and covering the back of the boot. It'll help keep it in place and hopefully, again, prevent any kind of moisture or debris from getting inside. Not to mention, it'll help cover up this small bit of colored wires so we don't have those bright colors right in the front of our Jeep. And with everything wrapped up, I'm just going to line my bracket up with the plug, then take the hardware from my bracket and secure everything down. Now again, this is completely up to you, but I'd like to keep the front of this as clean as I can and have a clean look, so I may come back and spray paint the head of these bolts, or the head of these screws, to be black so they just kind of blend in better. But again, that's up to you. It's not really necessary, but everything else is black. I think it would just look nice. That'll finish up your installation and your look at the Glue Lock 7-wire to 6-wire coiled cable for towed vehicles.